Happy Talk the Talk, series number 1. I'm so excited to share with you, villagers. Keep growing, keep expanding, and to just overload you with good, accessible, and applicable content for how you can continue to live your best life, tapping your greatness, and journeying to your individual and unique source every single day. Now, I have had a lot of creative ideas and exciting momentum building that I've wanted to, just output a bunch of content. And today is this perfectly auspicious day, whether you're seeing this live on October 8th, 10/8/108, or you're catching it later, right? The replay will be available forever as long as you want to watch it on YouTube. There is no happenstance that you stumbled across this today, whatever that day might be for you. But it felt like a really important opportunity to have synchronicities align, and you can see them kind of moving in this wave-like pattern, because it feels like life just continues to merge and diverge and zig and zag. And if you're on the wave of your own time and your own alignment, then you can feel how everything comes in at exactly the right moment. So today, because it is such a powerful day of universal connection and tapping into the greatest order of the cosmos, I believe, that we can, honoring that auspicious number of 108, and acknowledging that this is when, in this sort of seasons are changing. In October, we're moving into that sort of dark, shadowy season of Halloween and All Saints Day and Samhain in more of a pagan culture. And it's really a beautiful time to think about those introspective practices that can be done, especially when you're hibernating, in the colder seasons and the shorter days, that continuously move momentum. Even though things might be a little bit more stagnant or a little bit more still and internal, you can still keep your own growth process going. And wellness practices all year long are super crucial for you to continuously be the wave of positive change that you can be in your world. So I've always wanted to talk through the alphabetical oils that I work with. So starting with A, it's a perfect day to tap into the oil called Arborvitae. That means tree of life. Now, I put a picture of the tree of life on the Facebook group that has that Klimt version, which is just a beautiful representational image of roots and branches and the universal alignment that is in between all of that. And when I use this oil, right, this is a really powerful grounding oil for me, that the second I smelled it, and it took me a few years of using essential oils on a regular basis, hello Ramona, before I really before I tapped into this oil. And the second I opened up the bottle and took a deep breath, boy, it changed my life. Now, why do we use plant essences, right? If we're talking about really living a life of greatness, we have to talk about using the most natural and organic products as possible that were not man-made in a chemical lab, not synthetically put together, but really honor the natural composition of nature, right, of plants, and the essence that each of them bring. If you just think about what it means to sit underneath a tree, just like dear old Buddha, what it means to feel the grounding anchoring of a tree, the steadiness of any tree that you sit under its canopy, you can feel that divine wisdom. Well, when you use plant essences, whether it be from the fruit or the flower or the roots or the bark themselves, you're tapping into the immunity of the plant, to the ability to navigate and evolve and to stay alive, right? That's how plants really learn, the immunity and the essence of the plants themselves actually can strengthen us when we remember that we are of the earth. So I wrote nature is source, right? Of course, potency, but particularly why plant essences? Because they are of the earth. And we as humans do not live on top of this earth, right? We are made of the same stuff. We are absolutely more space and light than anything. And when we tap into the pure essence, right, the really potent and condensed essential energy of each plant, we are then merging and cleansing ourselves from the inside out to be more sensitive and to be more connected to nature's rhythms. I'm going to talk a little bit in some movement here in a moment about how to stay in a physical way more fluid and more dynamic in a very natural way. But I want to just dive into why Arborvitae today, because this oil means tree of life. And I personally have a little nickname for all of the essential oils that I work with, and this one I call the truth teller. Now this one, as I said, it sort of changed me the second I smelled it. Everything stopped. And I hope that you all have these moments in your life where you just feel like everything clicks into place and there's clarity. And that was what I experienced every single time I smell this bottle of oil. And I'm actually giving away a free sample of it for people who are new to doTERRA and curious to learn a little bit more. Send me a message and let me know why you want to feel really grounded, and I'll send you out a little sample of this oil. The reason I love this is because I'm bringing it in today, especially on a powerfully auspicious day, because it feels to me very cosmic, right? And I wrote down 3 details that I think points of benefit emotionally, spiritually, mentally even, that you can gain from working with plant essences, but specifically with this oil itself, which comes from the actual wood chips of the tree. That doTERRA never even cuts a tree down to make this oil. It's all from the byproduct, all sustainably harvested, which number one, you can just feel good knowing you're supporting an amazing company and you're not adding to any carbon footprint that takes away forests and trees that we need so desperately on this planet right now. So feel good about that. But one of the three things that I like to focus on is that when you tap into this oil and when we sit with it, I encourage you to get a drop of it and immediately incorporate it into your meditation practice or any contemplative quiet that you have in your life. Use Arborvitae as a way to really center yourself. And I call it the truth teller because the minute you use it, close your eyes and you go inward, you can't tell yourself any more lies. Like you're not worthy, like you don't have any good ideas, like you're not valuable to the planet. You can't lie to yourself about why you can't get shit done. It immediately cuts through the crap and puts you in a place of empowerment. And I wrote at the bottom here that it grounds you into your wisdom, right? There's something so, I feel like ancient, right, and timeless about this oil. And just like when you sit under a tree, you feel that groundingness, you tap immediately into this more timeless wisdom that lives inside your bones when you work with the nature's essence of this tree of life, the natural essence. Another thing that I wrote was that you release resistance. Now this is really important because I often think that many of us are resisting commitment or resisting follow through or resisting moving towards the place that feels good. And we martyr ourselves over and over and over again to be the everything for everybody, which we know we can't be, to try to live up to everyone else's expectations. And there's actually resistance to our own internal wisdom, our own internal guidance. When you use Arborvitae, I really believe that you release resistance to other people pulling and energetically moving you outward or trying to take and pull your energy away from center. And you reclaim it, and instead of resisting, which really is like an uprooted feeling or a tight and intense energy in your pelvic floor, and I'm going to talk about how to settle that here in a minute, you actually release resistance to yourself. And you can ground, just like your roots would spread wide and deep as a tree. You release resistance to committing to your own intuition, your own inner guidance. And in that, again, you can't lie to yourself and say that you have all of these excuses to not slow down a little bit. You have all these reasons to not take pause for self-care. You have all of this excuse and perspective on why you have to be out for other people. But when you use Arborvitae, you recognize the imperative practice that is you giving to yourself and tapping into that wisdom of yourself. Thank you guys all for joining me live. I'm so excited to see you. One more reason I love this, and this is a little bit more for the type A human of perfectionism, which hopefully I can resonate with some of you on that. I know that's my perspective, is that I like to be perfect and therefore I sometimes don't do anything. Analysis paralysis, they call it. I wrote down that using this oil helps you to end micromanaging. Does anybody get so bogged down in the details that they never take action, right? Or that you get so focused on making everything perfect that nothing can ever change? right? Because if you're so focused on trying to make everything perfect, you're going to do everything you can to hold it in one place so that it never changes, which is just so unlike nature. And if we're tapping into plant essences, and if we're starting to move in a very natural way, we have to acknowledge and really become one and intimate with the process of evolution, of change. So using plant essences, you really learn how to tap into a whole level of source that each of us can resonate with internally, but it's straight from the plants themselves. They are purely and more potent using the oils, right? Even more opposed to like an herb or just cooking with certain plants. The oils themselves are truly that immune system, such essential components of the plant. You go right to the potent medicinal and even emotionally and spiritually beneficial components of the plants. And it's a process where you remember that you are of this earth. You are not just a human that is an advanced intellectual brain, but you are an animal primally connected to all of the elements of the planet. This is a really important relationship that you can build with yourself when it comes to living in an empowered state. Right? So I want you to really explore that. And again, the first person that sends me a little message that's new to doTERRA about why they want to ground in and learn the experience of, or learn from direct experience the benefits of Arborvitae, send me a little message and I'll send it out to you. Now, all right, let's get into the body. Okay, this is really important as a process to stay moving and mobile, and because it's 108 day. And also on the natural time calendar, it's kin day 88, which is just infinity signs everywhere, right? This figure 8 shape, this circumambulating positioning or movement, I just love that word, of moving in a figure 8 pathway, is really, you can kind of think about how the planets move and how there is more orbital movement in nature's cycles, and that there's nothing that's really a straight line in nature. So here in the village, we don't teach you to straighten your body out. I don't ever tell you to take out the curves of your spine. In fact, the very opposite. But this basic exercise I'm going to give you today is called infinity moves. It's so powerful for if you sit, if you stagnate a lot, if you drive a lot, or just because it's getting colder and the days are getting shorter, if you start to curl into yourself and get a little bit more tight and compact, which can be really rigid, kind of building rigidity in your body and in your joints, and most importantly in your spine. So I'm going to show you 4 different ways that you can use infinity movements, and on top of being able to get your joints more fluid, your spine more healthy, your tissues more open and mobile and agile, you're also going to be challenging the brain, because not moving linearly, right, asking your body to move in 360 degrees and then reversing that is so good for both hemispheres of the brain, for bringing balance to your equilibrium, and also to feeling that place in the middle as you move all these different ways. So super basic exercise. I want you guys to practice in the physical. You can do this anytime. If you need just a little break from your desk, or if you've just been driving for a long time, get out and work these infinity movements to help you get some freedom and fluidity in your joints. And this is what we teach you in our virtual studio. So when you step into an online class with us, you're going to get access to how to stay way more free and fluid in your body. Okay, so I'm going to show you how to do this. It's super easy, but again, it's going to make you work your brain a little bit, right? Okay, so in Bowspring, we call this shape recovery pose, right? There's a lot of benefit in just the idea of what it means to recover. But hands on your knees, hips really far behind you with a deep bend in your legs, and you stretch the arms straight so the belly gets really long, your spine gets nice and suspended, and there's a lot of freedom. Okay, now what's the biggest movement, the place that we tend to get really stuck? It's in our hips. Okay, so with your knees and hands pressing into each other, I want you to just move your pelvis in a figure 8 shape, right? Now there's going to be one way that feels really easy, a little bit more accessible. But then I challenge you to try the other way, right? Go at least 5 times, more like 10 in each direction. And after every 5 or a couple, see if you can reverse directions. Now you might feel a lot of stickiness in that the pelvic bowl and the thigh bone often become fused together, especially if you sit a lot, or if your body is compressed and compacted smaller and smaller onto itself over the decades of life. Don't stop. Don't let that be a reason to stay stuck, right? When you move like this infinity pathway, just like when you use essential oils, it's going to help you release resistance that is living in the body. So really try to feel like you're moving your pelvic bowl independent of the thigh bones and getting that freedom of the hips to move freely around the legs themselves, okay? Try that both directions at least 10 times. And then bring the movement, that same infinity pattern, right? Big figure 8 shape, just like the way of energy, the way of the universe. Start to move your ribs in a figure 8 pattern. Now, you'll start to notice the head's going to do all kinds of things, and the arms are going to try to do everything. Your pinkies will get involved, your tongue and your lips. I want you to try to stay as steady as you possibly can through the legs. Just move your rib cage. And again, one side's going to be easier, one direction more easy. See if you can change it up. Go 5 one way, back, wide, forward, wide, and really filling into all the nooks and crannies of the body and moving in every single direction. And then challenge your brain. Change up the direction. Okay? Try not to wrinkle your face or your forehead or your lips. Just move the ribs in that big figure 8 shape. And once you've done 10 or 20 there, go into the head. So I'll show you here, the hips, the heart, the head, right? You're going through all of these big spherical places in the body. And truly, we can get stuck in the hips, but I think most of us can get mostly stuck in our brains, yeah? So when we take big figure 8 shapes, not only are we creating an amazing lubrication for the neck and the cervical spine, super basic stuff, but we're also, especially as you go in both directions, we're helping to open up the mind, the brain space, the head to be more sensitive and more present. And once you've done both directions, 10 times each way, then make everything else still. Legs strong, hips back, belly long, arms are straight. Then start to move your eyes. Nothing else, not your chin, not your lips, not your ears. I'm just kidding, that might be hard. But just move your eyes, and I love it because every time I do it, I'm really trying to go in the biggest, widest, fullest figure 8 shape that I can go, even with my optic muscles, right? My optical nerves and the musculature, of what it takes to move the eyes. So instead of just staring straight ahead at Netflix or at your phone, or instead of just moving your neck where there's hypermobility there, you're actually really moving what's inside, and you're helping to strengthen the muscles of your eyes so your eyesight can actually stay better. And you're able to strengthen the connection to the brain, the nervous system, and the request to talk to your body to move in a way that maybe isn't quite so natural. We're so used to working in this very linear and on top of the earth way, right, where we're sort of like walking around like penguins or like people in an army, right? We're all just soldiers lined up and taking out all the curves and all the zigzags. But nature works in a circumambulating pattern. Nature rotates and revolves and it curves, just like a riverbed ebbs and flows and twists and turns. That's how life moves. And you want to be really empowered to stand in your own greatness by knowing how to lean into these more natural, right? They're not always normal, more natural practices, more natural tools like plant essences, and like learning how to build relationship to your body, right? So on this auspicious day, try these 2 things. If you've never used essential oils, you can tap into me, reach out. If you want to sample, the first person that sends me a message, if you're new to doTERRA, I'll send you a sample of Tree of Life. And then get into your body. Try these movements and see if you can start to adopt a little bit more of a fluid and free expression, not just when you're on your yoga mat or not just when you're at the gym, but maybe every hour when you're sitting at your desk or when you get out of your car. See if you can move your body in these more spirally and turny, twisty ways and feel the energy that starts to move. Especially as we go into the colder months, you want to stay agile and free in your joints and fluid in your tissues. And these infinity moves are some of the best ways and super accessible to make that happen. But it only works if you use the tools, right? Essential oils can only bring you back to earth and really help you cleanse and detox to bring you to the essence of you when you use them on a consistent basis. All of these practices and everything I teach has compounding interest. I promise you, the more you do it, the more your bank account is going to give back to you. The bank account of health and wellness and that proactivity that you're doing to be empowered in your life is going to give back to you tenfold, hundredfold in quality of life. I want you to stay connected to your own wisdom, grounded in your greatness. And you do that by tapping into nature, leaning into the tools that are tried and tested, but not just intellectually, not just learning them in the mental space, but learning through direct experience, which is the only way we can turn our knowledge into wisdom. Thank you so much for watching the Wellness Series. This is just the first episode. I'll keep you posted on when the next one is. I'm going to go over basil oil next. So stay connected, and I'll give you more practices, more breathing, more physical movements on how to really approach your body, your mind, your heart, and most importantly, your spirit, with a natural approach to proactive and preventative wellness. We need your radiant light. Don't hide, don't shrink, and don't move like a robot. It's time to bring the curves back. Talk to you all soon. Have an amazing day. So much love. Namaste.